By the way, Jeff has a lot of followers here today. I said followers, friends, family members. He'll point some of those out to you. And I was told by Warren Rock, one of our ushers and counters, that you enabled us to hit the 200 mark today. I think I'm on. Yeah, you're on. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't turn it on while I was singing. Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So nice to see so many familiar and friendly faces here, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming. And Pastor Frank, there you are. Thank you for the introduction. And it's really tough to follow this music right here. I wish we would have done
to do that every week.
I wish we would have done the opposite. Before I get started, Margaret Patterson, where are you, girl? Margaret, I saw. There you are in the back. Margaret, save my seat for next week. It's a lot more comfortable back there than it is right here. You see, I'm petrified of public speaking. I've been that way for years and years and years. And I've been asked to publicly speak probably twice in the last 20 or 30 years. The first time was back in 2003 by my mom. You see, she was dying of cancer. She knew it, and I knew it. And 2 days before her death, she looked me squarely in the eyes while holding my hand and said, "Jeff, I know your fear of public speaking, but I want you to give my eulogy." She then said the following. She said, "I promise you I'm going to be right there holding your hand, and God is going to be holding your other hand." How could I say no to Mom? I mean, how can you say no to your mother in a situation like that? Believe me, I wanted to. At the funeral, I was so emotional as well as scared to death. My mom and my best friend, she was right there in the casket, right in front of me. The church was packed, probably almost as packed as this, if not more. I slowly walked to the pulpit, and as I turned around to face the congregation, it was amazing. I felt probably the most peaceful moment I think I've ever felt in my entire life. Mom was right. She was always right. She was there holding my hand, and God was holding my other hand. In getting started on my topic today, I've got 4 questions. And you can choose to raise your hand or not. It's entirely up to you. Question number 1, who here has or has had cancer in their lifetime? Okay, several hands raised. Thank you. How about heart issues? Heart issues. Some more hands. Thanks. How about diabetes? High blood pressure? Some more hands. The last question is probably going to make a lot of us feel uncomfortable, or some of us feel uncomfortable here today. But who here has had a mental illness, such as depression and anxiety? Wow, thank you for sharing that. Thank you very, very much for sharing that. As you can see, my hand was raised, and that's my topic for today. I'm hoping that my struggles with depression and anxiety will help just one person, or at least one person, not make the same mistakes that I made a lot of years ago. My message today is dedicated to 2 friends that recently lost their battle with depression. Mike and Tommy, and to their families. It's also dedicated to the people here today that currently suffer from depression, and in hopes that this message may help just one person. What does depression feel like? Some of us, we already know. Depression drains your energy. You feel hopeless. You feel utterly worthless. You feel sad. You feel all alone in your suffering. You feel isolated. You can't concentrate. It's like a fog developing over your mind. Your self-esteem is in the toilet. You feel like you're in this dark pit and you can't get out no matter how hard you try. Anxiety, on the other hand, you're always nervous. You're jittery. You can't make a 2-foot putt with Mike Cobb when you need to. You can't relax. Your mind is always racing. People, depression and anxiety, they do not discriminate. They do not discriminate. They don't care if you're rich or poor. They don't care if you're white or black. They don't care if you're male or female. They don't care if you're young or old. Even though really they seem to prey on the young adults and the teenagers now at an unbelievably alarming rate. They don't care if you voted for Hillary. They don't care if you voted for Hillary. They don't care if you voted for Bernie, like my son did, or Donald. These two just don't care. They don't care. On a side note, I personally voted for the mayor of Columbia Heights, Greg Kachuba is with me. And Greg, you need about 80 million more votes to have the huge shot. A little background on myself. I'm now 58 years old. I met the most beautiful woman I've ever met in my life when I was 21. We were married 4 short years later. We have 3 terrific children. We've got my son Ryan, who's here. Got my son Drew, who's in the Navy, and my daughter, who's studying to be an optometrist. Life was great. Life was great. Or it should have been, but it wasn't for me. At about the age of 32, I started to feel different. My energy was being drained. I started to feel sad. I started to feel hopeless. Depression and anxiety came quickly and consumed my life for those 8 long next years. I was a miserable, miserable wreck on the inside. You see, I was ashamed and I was embarrassed. I began to pray to God, God, take this pain away, take this suffering, throw it in the deepest ocean, never to return. Well, God he was AWOL, or maybe he was on vacation with Pastor Frank for 8 years. I don't know. After 8 years, I was done. I was cooked. I was fried. I could not stand to live another day like this. Could not. My prayers changed from God, God, help me to get well. Help me to get well. To God, give me the strength to last for 2 more years. You see, I just taken out a much larger life insurance policy on myself, knowing that I was going to end my life and my suffering after the 2-year suicide policy lapsed. My family had to be taken care of when I was gone. Just shy of my 40th birthday, Cindy, for the first time, saw the hopelessness and the sadness in my eyes. And she said, Jeff, what is wrong? What is wrong? And at that moment, for the first time in 8 years, I broke down and I sobbed like the broken man that I was. I told her about my depression. I told her about my anxiety. I told her about my plans to commit suicide. She patiently and lovingly listened to me. She was shocked, to say the least. I didn't know it at the time, but that's when God really started to answer my prayers. And if anybody knows Cindy, as a lot of people do, we all know she's a woman of action. My son Ryan is shaking his head, yes. And that is a good thing. That is really a good thing. She took me to the doctor. The doctor asked me lots of questions. Then I filled out this lengthy questionnaire for me. I was back in her office 2 days later. She said to me, Mr. Brown, in my 25 years of being a doctor, this is the #1 worst case of depression I've ever seen. I guess I should have gotten a trophy or something, but I didn't. She then said, Jeff, how did you manage this for 8 years by yourself? I said, Doc, I put on my happy face every day, and I hoped that nobody would see how broken I really was on the inside. I said, Doc, why do I feel like this? What do I have to be anxious and depressed about? I said, I'm married to the most wonderful woman in the world. I've got 3 children that I adore. I'm making tons of money. My life should be great. You know what her response was? You know what her response was? She said, you'd be a perfect candidate for medication. She then talked about trigger points, lack of chemicals of serotonin and dopamine, and I don't know, whatever stuff that just went way over my mind. I did ask her, I said, Doc, what do you mean by a trigger point? She said, Jeff, you didn't have a trigger point that caused you to start to feel this way. She said, you didn't have a death of a loved one. You didn't have financial issues. You didn't have a loss of a job, loss of a child. You didn't have a divorce. This is what I mean by trigger points. I was immediately put on medication. The side effects were, I can't say this in church, but I'll say it this way. The side effects were horrible, 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 to say the least. Irritability, headaches, sexual side effects, and so many more. Finally, after about 3 or 4 years, about 3 years or so, and 4 or 5 different types of medication that were ineffective, she and I finally found the right combination with no side effects. My depression and my anxiety slowly and gradually lifted. And I could really start to tell the difference. By about the age of 44, I was back. I was back. My joy in life was back. The sun was finally shining again. I started to appreciate the small things in life like I hadn't previously. You know, I still take this medicine daily, just like I'm sure a lot of you take your medicine daily for your ailments. People, there is nothing to be ashamed about having to take medicine for a mental illness such as depression and anxiety. There is nothing to be ashamed of. God has made many smart people and doctors to help with this. Now, after I got well, this is when the second person tried to convince me to do what that I fear the most, and that is standing right here. He wanted me to share my story so people would not feel embarrassed or ashamed of their illness, in hopes that they wouldn't make the same mistakes that I made. I told him, someday, not today, not tomorrow, not next week. Told him, don't call me, I'll call you. Leave me alone, I'm doing well. I made one excuse after another after another. He has been bugging me since I got well 14 years ago to tell my story. And yes, here I am finally. Y'all know who that person was? Any clue? He's here today. He's here today. He's right here. It was God. It was God. He's not only perfect, but I'm telling you, he is very, very persistent when he wants you to do something. And very, very persistent. I mean, life was great. Cindy and I, we bought a lake house at Lake Gaston at Pico Creek, just outside the main lake. It's kind of near, for a reference point, near mile marker 3. Some of y'all know where that is. By the age of 44, from the age of 44 to almost 51, life was indeed wonderful. But, as the late, great radio personality Paul Harvey would say, page 2, and the rest of the story. Ryan, you can Google Paul Harvey later. I have to. This is the hard part. On January 13th, 2011, 7 p.m., a little over 7 years ago, my life changed forever in 4 little words. Love of my life, and my best friend said to me, I want a divorce. After 30 years together, I was all alone. Now I experience that trigger point that the doctor mentioned all those many years ago. I immediately went into a deep, dark free fall into depression once again. I struggled with depression and anxiety all those years before. It was child's play compared to this. Child's play. Suicide wasn't just a possibility. My family and my friends, they were quite sure that this was going to be a reality. I see some of them kind of nodding their heads yes, because they know. I put my plans into action. I knew exactly where my life was going to end. I planned on taking my boat out to mile marker 3 late at night and tying up to a buoy. This is where my life and my suffering and my depression would finally end. with one bullet. I'm going to try and describe briefly what happened over the next 3.5 years and why I'm still here today, alive and well. I was falling fast and furious into the bottomless pit and moving closer and closer to my destination, mile marker 3 at Lake Gaston. I noticed all these thick, heavy ropes dangling beside me as I was plummeting. I thought about grabbing one of the ropes, decided against it because that would slow my descent to where I was going, which is mile marker 3. Eventually, I placed my hand on one of the many ropes that were dangling beside me. With that, Eventually, I placed my hand on one of these many ropes that were dangling beside me. With that, I grabbed another and another and another. Slowly, gradually, I was being pulled to the surface. I could now start to see a small fraction of the sun shining down on me. I eventually arrived at the surface. There were many, many, many people there holding these ropes. Their hands, they were bloodied, they were bruised, they were sweating, they were all exhausted. But you know what? They were all smiling. I saw my brothers. I saw my sister. I saw Jim Burns. I saw Joe and Michelle Pellegrino. I saw Tori Cobb and Mike Cobb, Lee and Gwen McDaniel, John Harding, and all the other sedentary boys from high school. I saw Dave Worry. I saw Steve Arbogast, and 2 of my children, Ryan and Nicole. Then I saw 3 people that were probably the most bruised and bloodied of them all. Christine Arbogast, and of course, Larry and Wendy Zacharias. I realized then that these were not ropes that were extending to me, but these were lifelines. Each of them in their own way, along with many others here not mentioned, extended lifelines to me. I'll be forever, ever grateful to each of you. I then saw God in the background. He was the one that extended the ropes that grabbed and held onto my ankles before I hit mile marker 3. I could now understand why my prayers were not answered for those 8 long years, while I suffered in silence. I realized that God wanted me to do my part in getting well. He wanted me to trust others to help me. He wanted me not to be embarrassed or ashamed about my mental illness with depression and anxiety. He wanted me not to tackle this alone. In closing, everybody here's heard of Michael Jordan, the Nike slogan, everybody wants to be like Mike. Well, who doesn't want to be like Mike? I want to be like Mike. Well, I have a new slogan for people that suffer from anxiety and depression like I did. Don't be like Jeff. Don't make the same mistakes that I made. Don't suffer in silence and keep this to yourself. Talk about it, and then talk about it some more. Parents, talk.
Go.
Parents, talk with your children. Teenagers, talk to your parents. Husbands, talk to your wife. Wives, talk to your husband. Talk with your friends. People, these are your lifelines. These are your lifelines. Everybody here, this illness does not define you and define who you are. If anything, I promise you it's going to make you stronger. And when you get well, and you will get well, every difficulty and obstacle that you face will seem like a breeze compared to this. Seek help. There are a lot of smart people in this world. Read the Bible. Pray, and then pray some more. And I promise you, He will answer your prayers in His own perfect timeline. And He is by far the best lifeline. Finally, just remember this. Don't be like me. Don't be like Jeff and make the same mistakes I made. Thank you so much.